Well, BlizzCon 2015 Hearthstone World Championships have come to an end. We have a winner. Frodan, you want to just tell me what happened at BlizzCon? Because I've been running around, I've caught pieces here and there. What happened in Hearthstone?
So in Hearthstone, we had Ostkaka win the entire tournament up against Hotform. It's really cool that Ostkaka was able to win because I think he's literally, in a lot of ways, this year's Firebat, where he's a really good player and that he's helped so many people practice for tournament victories, but he never had a chance to shine himself. In fact, it's quite the opposite, where a lot of his friends and teammates that he helped practice to win tournaments, Ostkaka was really unlucky many tournaments in a row. So from this point on, he's going to get invited to a lot of tournaments like Firebat did last year and this past year, and he's going to win more. And everyone's going to be like, well, why wasn't this guy invited earlier? I should know about him. It's going to be the same case with Ostkaka.
Any other interesting storylines? Any other surprises?
Yeah, so China dipped out really early in the tournament. They end up only having 2 players go to the top 8, and they lost because China was not very good with this year's representatives. That was a big surprise. And then another big one was Asia Pacific doing very well relative to everyone's expectations. And then the final, of course, is that everyone brought classes that people didn't expect to do well, like Priest and Rogue, and they ended up going to top 4.
So to be clear, China did not do as well as everyone suspected. The Southeast Asia area did a lot better. This is interesting because I was recently at another World Championship event where this storyline was very prevalent. So I don't know. Well, I don't know what's happening in China and Southeast Asia, but okay. So we had that stuff happen. Obviously, based on what I've been seeing on Ladder and also based on what I've been seeing on Reddit, the entire thing was just played out with secret Paladin decks, right?
Now, that's the perception. People believe Paladin is wildly overpowered. Yeah. But I don't think that's the case right now. I think a lot of people just don't have the answer, and that it's not a very convenient answer. Here's the thing about Paladin is that it's so much easier to play it that way. It's basically like Secrets Paladin is the 2015 version of Hunter to many people, or Face Hunter, that people feel like it's just easier to play and it's less rewarding than to go to another deck that takes more time and effort and energy thought-wise to be able to consume it and play for it. So I think people just feel like that this is a toxic behavior that's being encouraged. In a way, it's like it's easy to play Secret Paladin. The only thing that I think is an argument against Secret Paladin is that it's not a very cheap deck. Before, people would say, like, I have to play Hunter, I have to play Zoo because it's a cheap deck and I can't afford it. Stop it! Secret Paladin costs a lot of dust, and I know that's not a legitimate excuse anymore, so everyone's like, oh, I'm a free-to-play player, of course I play Hunter. Yeah. Not the case anymore with Secret Paladin, so stop it.
But Secret Paladin was not, from my understanding, very prevalent here, in stark contrast to what I think a lot of people thought, right?
Yeah, it actually dipped down the top 8, and then the only Paladin that advanced past that was a mid-range Paladin, completely different type of Paladin, that plays more slow and more honestly. So I think it's one of those things that might get people thinking. Patron was really dominant in tournaments, but not so much in ladder, and now it's like the opposite, where Secret Paladin's really dominant on ladder, but not so dominant in tournaments. And I'm not sure which way people prefer. I mean, idealistically, we would have a very balanced ladder and very balanced tournament meta. Yeah. But I kind of like the fact that the tournaments are just shutting down this opinion that Secret Paladins are so strong, because I definitely don't think that's always the case.
Likewise, I heard Patron was dead. And then I was talking to somebody here who told me that there was Patron happening. I just missed it over at the Heroes thing. What was going on there?
Well, Patron's not dead. It's basically a Frankenstein version of the very first Patron deck, which was more board control oriented and less about one-turn kills. So I think people are really starting to become adjusted and even liking this new Patron, because it's still extremely skill intensive, but it's also still very potent, and that's the way people wanted it to be, as opposed to before, which felt like anytime it can just, you know, kind of vomit onto the board, a Warsong Commander and Frodan Berserker, and just, oh, oops, I have lethal.
Now, besides all the stuff that we saw in the tournament, there's actually a grand unveil in the opening ceremony. I'm sure everybody knew that there was an adventure coming, but now we know that it's this League of Explorers thing, I think is what it's called, right? Not to be confused with a different league. Yeah. So League of Explorers is pretty neat. What do you think of the cards? Because I guess they've all been unveiled now on their Facebook.
You're talking about League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. That's the thing that they commonly confuse it with, right? Okay, cool. Gotcha. The other LOE. The thing about the League of Explorers, I think it's really cool to see Blizzard take a strong stance that they're embracing the randomness of the digital medium, as opposed to like, well, people say they don't like this. Maybe we should immediately listen to everything and just stop playing the Hearthstone strengths.
Talking about Discover, right?
Yeah, the Discover mechanic. I think it's really easy for a developer to see the reaction of the community and say like, well, we should just listen immediately and just stop everything that we're doing and change the tides. I think that's a really cool thing to see, that Blizzard is just like saying, well, we're going to try to address what you guys want, but maybe, you know, continue to innovate in this digital medium. And I think that's a really powerful thing that is on their side. Like, Hearthstone is still uncharted waters. A lot of people look at it and they're like, well, let's take existing things from other card games, but that's not what Hearthstone's strengths are. Hearthstone's strengths is the fact that it's accessible, that everyone can play it, that it's digital, that you can do all this cool stuff. I think that they should continue to explore what makes it good, as opposed to what makes everything else good and making Hearthstone like that. That would feel like a little bit less boring. In fact, that would make Hearthstone a little bit more boring. In fact, why not just play those other games then, if we were going to make it exactly like that?
Yeah, I mean, is there? I don't know how early you saw the cards, because I know sometimes Blizzard lets people see things a little bit before they announce it. But maybe given even the limited time that you've had to see them, is there any card in particular or anything that you've seen that you're like, well, this is going to kill this deck, or oh my god, this is going to completely change everything?
I like the idea of what Explorer's Hat does. I think that's really unique in terms of giving hunters some more opportunities. In fact, all the hunter cards was really interesting, because I think one of the developers once told me that during his development cycle, while he was working at Blizzard, he could never print a good Face Hunter card. Yeah. And I think maybe we might have one now, because Face Hunter is definitely struggling a lot. We saw it even perform pretty poorly in this tournament and recent tournaments, and even on ladder. So even though Blizzard's very aware of these types of scenarios where classes might be struggling or archetypes are not good, and they want to be able to help it, even if they're not well received in the community. So that's definitely one. Another one that I'm looking forward to is seeing like how some of these cards that have like Discover in it be really powerful, because it's like pretty cool on curve. So the Scarab is really sweet. I can't really think of any other ones off the bat. What I do want, though, is I want Rogue to actually be viable. I'm really hoping that Death Rattle thing makes it stronger, so that way it can have a different archetype outside of Oil, because Rogue is one of my favorite classes, if not my favorite class. Yeah. It definitely needs some love.
Is the what is it, the quest for the golden monkey? is that a viable thing, or are we going to see people build decks around that?
I mean, it's probably as viable as you know, sending multiple roles people into the bottom lane of a certain game. I mean, it's probably just as viable as that, but it's equally as fun and entertaining if it works. One of the cool things is that, as gimmicky as some of the stuff in Hearthstone is, there are chances for it to happen. For example, Voltron in GVG is like this combination of Power Ranger mechs and stuff. It actually happened in a tournament game one time, successfully for lethal, based off of shenanigans. So those kinds of moments are ones that you'll remember forever, and that's what makes Hearthstone so fun.
I was cruising around the Hearthstone subreddit, I think this morning or last night. Remind me, because I never use this card and I've never seen it played, but what's the card that pits mines into other people's decks?
The Iron Juggernaut.
Yeah. Somebody was like, wait, does it turn the mines into legendary cards? And somebody was like, it's finally the Iron Juggernaut counter we've all been waiting for. I think that's pretty good.
Yeah, that card is really oppressive and toxic to the metagame, so I really hope Blizzard was going to nerf it, but this is also okay.
All right, well, any other final takeaways from BlizzCon? Anything else that you were excited about from the Hearthstone side?
Yeah, I think if there's anything we've learned is that Blizzard is still really intent on just changing the way things are. I don't think people realize how big of a deal it is that Blizzard is willing to make an announcement and then release it the following week. That's a huge sign of growth for Blizzard, that they're willing to continue to look at business models, both from a financial and from a practical standpoint, and from just like making it a fun game that's engaging and constantly changing it up. People might look at it as dishonest, like, you know, maybe they just want us to not spend as much gold, or like they're hurting free-to-play players. That's not the case at all. The fact is, this is such a huge step for them, and the future of Hearthstone is still really bright, as long as the community is willing to continue to embrace how bright the future is. So I really hope that people enjoy League of Explorers. I think the future is really exciting. I do think that Blizzard could improve in a lot of things, but they definitely have an open ear, and that's what makes me the most excited about everything.
Well, thank you so much for the interview. It's really good to talk to you here and for you to help kind of catch me up as I've been darting around all the different esports stages. This is, I guess, the Hearthstone Tavern, so maybe you want to go grab a beer. I'm going to maybe grab a beer myself. You can check out the rest of our coverage of all things BlizzCon at GameSpot.com.